Hello folks, thanks for joining this other live stream in which I'm going to present my top baseball picks for today, Thursday, July 20. Thank you for being here. Can you let me know in the chat if the sound is fine? Because I had some mic issues. I had to rush to use a different mic. So let's hope that you can hear me well right now. Today I've got 3 official betting picks for you in Major League Baseball. And as usual, I will tell you what my betting systems are recommending to do. You are probably aware of the fact that I developed 19 MLB betting systems, and every single day I track which teams they suggest to bet. But I don't bet those games blindly. I need more evidence and I do more investigation. Let's see here. Sound is good. All right, so all good. Thanks guys for being here. So I see Jared Bush, Pocket Aces as usual. Nemo is here. All right, Chris Lebo, the dope man. All right, thanks for being here, guys. Today I want to try something new to get you more involved in the live stream. So what I'm going to do is tell you which game I'm about to discuss. And while I talk about it, I'm going to invite you in the chat to let me know what your pick is on this specific game. So while I present my own pick and give you my arguments and all the notes I have about this game, you can type in the chat what your pick is and maybe how confident you are about this pick. And once I'm done presenting my stuff, I will take a look at the chat to see what the general consensus is about this game. So for example, I can tell you right away that the first game I'm going to talk about is the Cards playing at the Cubs. So if you wish, you can start typing in the chat. If you were forced to bet this game, which team would you take? The last time I checked, the odds were around plus 117 on the Cards and minus 127 on the Cubs. So obviously you need to take into account the odds. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I told you that my betting systems recommend betting 5 teams today. And the first 2 are the Cards and the Cubs. So basically, we have conflicting information about this game, but I still have an official pick around this game. So let me first present what those betting angles are. First, we have the hot bats that recommends fading the home team if they won their past 2 games by scoring 6+ runs in each of those victories. There's also another potential criterion, but it does not apply to today's game. All right, so let's see. Let me share my screen. So the home team here is the Cubs. And as you can see, they did win their past 2 games by scoring at least 6 runs. In fact, they scored 8 runs yesterday and 17 the day before. So they are certainly hot offensively. And my betting system called the Hot Bats recommends betting against the Cubs. Now, which system suggests taking the Cards? It's the one, sorry. So the Hot Bats recommends fading the Cubs. So in other words, it is telling us to bet the Cards. Now we do have a system that is recommending to take Chicago. It's called the Hot Teams Matchup number 2. It has been quite lucrative over many years. It's been quite consistent as well. It says bet the home team if the road team won at least 4 games in a row, while the home squad won its past 1 or 2 games. Now, in this case, if we take a look at the standings, the road team, the Cards, they must have won at least 4 in a row. In this case, the Cards have won 5 in a row. and the home team, the Cubs, must have won either 1 or 2 consecutive games. And that is the case since they have a 2-game winning streak right now. All right, so we have conflicting information. First, I want to tell you one thing. This year, the hot bats has done very poorly. It has a minus 14.4% ROI over 95 bets. So I've lost quite a bit of trust in this system. So that tells me right off the bat that maybe I have a lean on the Cubs because it is supported by a more reliable betting angle. But let's keep digging further. As you know, the Cards are flying high by winning 7 of their past 8 games. They will be sending Steven Matz to the mound, who has struggled mightily as a starter this year. Then he was sent to the bullpen, where he did a better job. Now he was back as a starter, and in his first outing, he tossed a gem at the Chicago White Sox. If I remember correctly, he did not allow a single run in this game. But then he went back to his bad habits in his following start by allowing 4 runs in 4 innings and 1/3 against the lowly Washington Nationals. So that was quite bad. So again, we have more data suggesting to go with Chicago. Now, who is the starting pitcher for the Cubs? Marcus Stroman, and I've talked about him quite a few times this year. I like this guy. He's pretty reliable. We have placed quite many bets on the Cubs when he was on the mound. He actually leads the league with 15 quality starts. Now, he did go through a more difficult 3-game stretch in which he allowed 6, 5, and 4 runs. But thank God, in his last outing, he went back to his old self. He allowed just 1 earned run in 6 innings against a tough Boston Red Sox lineup. Now, prior to this more difficult run, Marcus Stroman allowed 2 runs or less in 7 straight games, which is very impressive. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said he's pretty reliable and consistent. Now, in this case, we also have the famous revenge factor coming into play. Stroman has faced the Cards twice this year, and he has an 0-2 record, along with an ERA of 4.82. In fact, he has allowed 8 runs in 9 and 1/3 innings, but only 5 of them were earned. In the last game, he was quite bad, but he left with a blister, so it indicated that he was injured in that game. I really feel he will be extra motivated to beat the Cards, given his poor performances against that team this year. They are a divisional opponent, and also there are rumors that he might be dealt before the trade deadline. This could be his last outing with the Cubs. All right, so for all of those reasons, I've decided to take a shot, and I am officially taking the Chicago Cubs money line. When I shared this pick a bit earlier this morning, the best available odds were minus 124. I believe this was obtained with BetOnline Sportsbook. But maybe the line has changed, and also the line varies between minus 124 and maybe minus 135. Now, before I check the chat, no, let's do it right now. I want to see what you guys think about this game. Okay, all right. Class in session, says the dope man. All right. Charleroi says, ah ouais, le prof. Ah ouais, donc. Let's go, mon ami. Okay, so Chris is taking the Cubs. Deadly Tedly Piano is taking the Cubs all day. Jared is taking the Cubs for the first half of the game. That's a good idea as well. Felipe is asking what I'm thinking about the Brewers Phillies game. I will say a few words about this matchup later in this live stream. $1 million Quest is taking the Cubs run line. Oh, Eric's is taking the Cubs against a lefty. Cubs all day. Oh, Dopeman said he's taking the Cardinals. The majority of the bets are placed on the Cubs, over 70% on DraftKings, so he will fade the public, which is not necessarily a bad idea to fade the public in general. So we have at least one person here taking the Cards. Larry is taking the Cubs as well. AL Sports Cubs. I don't trust Steven Matz. All right, so it seems like many people are taking Chicago. Now I'm going to throw a curveball at you because I have another pick on this game. Look at this. I am also taking the under 8.5 runs. All right. Now, why? Let me tell you a phenomenon that I've observed. I don't have actual data to back this theory up. It's just a general feeling. Maybe you will agree or disagree with it. I've noticed that when a very solid pitcher is facing a weak pitcher, well, what often happens, of course, it does not happen every single time, but I've noticed several occasions where the solid pitcher does a good job as usual, and the weak pitcher tends to do better, and then we get into a low scoring affair. So in this case, I'm hoping that Steven Matz can also do a fairly good job to avoid the Cubs scoring a boatload of runs and losing the under bet. So in this case, I expect Steven Matz to do better than what most people expect. I know he's been quite bad as a starter, but he was starting to do a better job out of the bullpen. Maybe he can limit the Cubs offense. So I'm hoping maybe for a 5-2 win by the Cubs to get the under and also the Cubs winning this game. All right, so I don't know what you guys think about this potential strategy. Again, I don't have actual data supporting it, but it's something I've noticed. And also, I do have a statistical model that projects the winner of each game and also the total. And in this game, my statistical model likes the under to hit. So I've decided to take a shot. All right, so we already have two official picks in the book. We have the Cubs money line and the under in the Cubs versus Cards meeting. Up next, I'm going to talk about the Giants versus Reds game. So you can get started if you wish, typing in the chat which team would you pick, or maybe you want to pick the over or the under. It's really up to you, but let me know what would be your best bet in the San Francisco versus Cincinnati game. Now, it's quite strange because once again we have conflicting information if we focus on my betting systems. That happens quite rarely, and it's happening 2 times today. So first of all, this system called the snap losing streak number 2 goes like this. It recommends to fade the home team if they won their last game after losing at least 4 in a row, if they're facing the same opponent as yesterday, and if they are not huge favorites. More specifically, if their money line is better than minus 200. Well, in this case, if we focus on the Reds, they are the home team. They did win their last game after losing 6 in a row. They are facing San Francisco again, and their money line, which is around minus 110, is much better than minus 200. So for this reason, the snapped losing streak number 2 system is suggesting to go with the Giants. However, we have the snapped winning streak strategy telling us to bet the the Reds. It says fade the road team if they've lost their last game after winning at least 5 in a row. And in this case, the Giants did lose their last game after winning 6 in a row. So again, we do have some conflicting information. So what have I decided to do? Well, I've decided to throw you a second curveball for today because my pick goes on the total. I'm taking the under once again, under 9.5 runs in the Giants versus Reds meeting. Let me share some numbers with you that might convince you to go with the under or maybe not. As usual, I'm just here to share my own bets with the world, and it's up to you to make your own decisions. Well, let's look at the performance of the under in each team's recent games. Well, if you look at the past 11 games by the Giants, the under has hit 8 times, while the over won 3 times. So in other words, the under has an 8-3 record lately. And if you focus on the Reds, the under has posted a 7-3 record in their past 10 games overall. So both teams have been involved in low-scoring games recently. Now, of course, the total depends largely on the starting pitchers. For the Giants, they have Alex Cobb. Okay, I've told you several times this year how I value the whip statistic a lot, which corresponds to walks plus hits per inning pitched. Now, the league average is 1.30. Okay, so keep that in mind. 1.30 is the league average. Now, let's look at Alex Cobb's whip stat during the previous 3 years. 1.34, 1.26, 1.30. And this year, 1.32. As you can see, he is very consistent and he is consistently close to the league average. So in other words, he's not a top pitcher, but he's not a bad one either. Now, however, he has been rolling as of late. He has allowed 2 runs or he has allowed 2 runs or fewer in 4 straight starts. Also, he has done a very good job against the Reds in his career. He started 4 games against Cincinnati, and his ERA against this opponent is 1.48, which is awesome. So I'm confident that he can limit the Reds' offense today. Now, on the other side, the Reds are sending rookie Andrew Abbott to the mound. Now, if you remove a bad outing at Milwaukee on July 7, he has surrendered just 7 earned runs in 43 and 1/3 innings. Now, if you do the math, that amounts to an ERA of 1.45. That's outstanding. Now, of course, you might argue, well, you're a bit cheating. You're removing his worst outing of the year, and that's kind of true. But so even if you keep that game, if you include that game, his whip stat is 1.01, which is much lower than the 1.30 league average. In other words, he is much better than the league average so far, even when you include his bad outing at Milwaukee. So in other words, I believe we have 2 solid pitchers. Both teams have been involved in low-scoring games lately, so I'm banking on the fact that the trend will continue today. So let's see what you guys think about this play. I suppose that most people will talk about which team is going to win the game, and that's okay. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Big Blue Jay says, I like San Francisco here. So he's going with the very, very tiny underdog, the Giants. Nemo says, very difficult to predict. Well, you know what? I fully agree with you, Nemo. And that's why I did not pick either the Giants nor the Reds. And I went with the total because my own analysis recommends taking the under. And again, it's also backed on the numbers that are provided by my statistical model that says the under has a fair chance of winning. Lil Rego says, I'm going Reds. The Giants lost their winning streak, so their confidence should be small. All right. Reds money line, snap winning streak for Giants. The public is on the Giants. I will fade the public. All right. Sunny Springs is taking Cincy. Jared Bush, Cincy. Pocket Aces agrees with me, and Nemo says the game is tough. All right. Under 9 is okay, says Jared Bush. I'm not sure if it was a question or. Well, I agree. If you take, I took under 9.5. If your bookie has 9, you probably have better odds, associated odds, so that's still fine, even though your chances of winning are smaller. Chris says, I lean Giants, but God goes to the Reds. Yeah, so I'm not seeing a lot of people who seem to be super confident. Pocket Aces has under 9.5 at minus 120 with his book. That sounds good to me. All right. Thanks for sharing your opinion, guys. Now, up next, you can start telling me what you think about the Padres versus Blue Jays game with Blake Snell facing Chris Bassett. Well, and this is basically the last pick backed by my betting systems. And the one that applies is called the Stingy Pitchers. And here's how it goes. The rules are fade the road team if they won their past 2 games by allowing 0 or 1 run in each of those victories. And also their money line must be smaller than plus 150. All right, so let's share my screen and show you the road team's recent schedule, in this case the Padres. As you can see, they did win their last 2 games by allowing 0 and 1 run in those games. And their money line is much smaller than plus 150. So this system is telling us to actually go with the home team, the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, so now do I like this pick enough to bet? Well, you can probably suspect that I don't, since I told you at the very beginning that I had 3 official picks, and I've already shared 3 official picks with you. I have really decided to avoid this game. Well, first of all, this system has had mitigated success this year, and I don't like fading Blake Snell in this case. Here's something I read that's quite amazing. Do you know the last time that Blake Snell allowed more than 2 runs? That was May 19. So May, June, July. So it's been 2 months since he allowed more than 2 runs. So, and that corresponds to 10 starts in a row in which he allowed 2 runs or fewer. That's incredible. His ERA during this amazing run is 0.62. Are you kidding me? So it's quite hard to fade this guy. And meanwhile, to me, Chris Bassett is not going in the right direction. If you look at his past 7 starts, he has allowed 23 earned runs in 33 and 2/3 innings. Again, if you do the calculations, that corresponds to an ERA of 6.15. So in his past 7 starts, his ERA is 6.15, and he's facing a very tough pitcher. So to me, no way I'm going to bet the Blue Jays today. Now, I'm not necessarily saying pound the Padres, but if you forced me to bet, yes, I would go with San Diego. I would go against my own betting system. But personally, I've decided to simply stay away from this game. Let's see what your opinion is. Sunny Springs, San Diego, or walk away. Oh, wow, you fully agree with me then. Big Blue Jays is taking San Diego and under. Jared Bush, San Diego money line. And he's parlaying with Blake Snell with 6 strikeouts. The Dopeman says he's taking the Blue Jays. San Diego had a shutout game. The winning team usually lose the next game. Not always, but usually. That's quite interesting. I should spend some time analyzing this potential betting system. Thanks for sharing, man. So that would involve looking at how teams do after a shutout. Maybe when they're facing the same opponent. Nemo likes Toronto because I don't think Toronto will lose 3 in a row. B Haas is taking San Diego for the sweep. Big Blue Jays says, I hope I'm wrong since he's probably a Blue Jays fan. But I like the fact that you're not necessarily going with your heart all the time. That's quite important in the sports betting world. Pocket Aces says this one is tough too. I like San Diego if I had to play it. So again, we fully agree, man. Stay away, Jays are streaky. San Diego, you don't know what you're going to get. Yeah, both teams are quite unpredictable to me. I kind of agree here. David C says Snell is on fire. All right. Oh, Garrett is asking, where are your children? Well, I saw them. Well, right now I'm in my basement. My studio is in my basement. And from the window, sometimes I see them playing baseball or soccer outside. Thanks for asking. And they are playing tonight and tomorrow. I really love watching my guys play. Okay, all right. Now I'm not done yet. Stay tuned because I want to discuss two more games, okay? Now, none of them will involve an official pick. I have not placed any bet, but I thought I would share my opinion about these games just as a bonus. Maybe it can help you make your own mind about those games. The first one is Arizona against Atlanta. At first sight, the odds are quite enticing on the Diamondbacks. The last time I checked, I saw something like plus 175 with Zach Gallen on the mound. So at first sight, it's quite tempting. However, he has been reeling lately. He has allowed 3, 1, 4, and 4 runs in each of his past 4 outings. So things are not going perfectly for him recently. And also, he's facing the strikeout king, Spencer Strider. So that makes it more difficult. I've also noticed how Arizona has posted an 8 and 12 record during their past 20 games. I'm quite pissed because if you have been following me for several weeks, you know that like 2-3 weeks ago, I predicted that the Diamondbacks would go on a tough stretch. They were first in their division, and I felt like they would start playing weaker baseball, and that has happened, but I have not cashed on it enough, in my opinion. Maybe once or twice only. I should have listened to myself. All right, so I wonder what you guys think. So, is Zach Gallen going to pitch well or not? That's really the big question mark in this game. Is he going to continue struggling or not? Well, you could argue that the Braves are also struggling themselves as they have lost their past 4 games. So again, if you forced me to bet, I guess I would go with Arizona, but with very little confidence. Gallon ERA is bad on the road. Is mentioning Jared Bush. Thanks very much for the information. I did not pick it up. Sunny Springs is taking Arizona all day long. The Dopeman says it. This game is a grenade. Be careful. I like Atlanta here and the over, says Big Blue Jay. So the opinions are on both sides. Again, I would tend to go with Arizona, but I'm not going to bet it. The last game I want to discuss, someone in the chat asked me, I believe he was named Felipe. He asked me earlier what I think about the Milwaukee versus Philadelphia game. a game in which the Phillies are, I was going to say the Flyers, a game in which the Phillies are slight favorites. All right, so you can start typing in the chat what you think about this specific game. To me, I am tempted to go with the Brewers simply because I trust Corbin Burns more than Taiwan Walker. And I know that Walker has been very hot lately. Well, in fact, he has picked up 7 straight wins, which is awesome. But if you look at what he did before that hot run and in previous years, he was a pretty good pitcher, but not necessarily an ace pitcher for any given team. So, in my opinion, I believe Burns is stronger. And they also won yesterday's game. That will boost their confidence. So, in my mind, I would tend to go with the Brewers, but again, I'm not actually placing a bet. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Jeff T says the price tempts you to take Arizona, but I'll pay the VIG and take Atlanta. Okay, all right. And Jeff is also taking the Brewers. Don Snyder taking the Brewers because they are hot right now. Jared Bush says Phillies are murdering right-hand pitching. I go Phillies first 5 innings. All right. Well, if I was forced to go with Philadelphia, maybe I would go for the entire game since I'm scared of Corbin Burns personally, but I fully respect your opinion as always. Jeff T says Walker has pitched well lately, but some are versus inferior opponents. Oh, that's quite interesting. I would love to take a look at this. Uh, let's see. His past 7 wins were against the Padres, the Rays, the Cubs, the Mets, the Ace, the Dodgers, the Tigers. Yeah, so I think there's a mix of great teams like the Rays, the Dodgers, but some pretty bad ones. All right. Who else has an opinion about this game? Okay, Brewers under for the third time. Burns has returned to form, says Jared Bush. The Dopeman said it is taking Philly. Pagare says Walker has been hot. I'd lean Philly. All right, Walker pitched well versus Cubs. Not touching this game. Oh, all right. So we have some people on the Brewers, others on the Phillies. All right, so that would be it for me. Let me recap quickly my 3 official picks for today, just to make things crystal clear for you. So the first pick went to the Chicago Cubs money line as pretty small favorites against the Cardinals. My second pick was under 8.5 runs in that same St. Louis versus Chicago game. And finally, my third pick is under 9.5 runs in the Giants versus Reds game. All right, so a big thank you for everyone, especially to those of you who commented and participated in the chat. I appreciate getting your opinion. So I will do another live stream as usual next week. It's always either Wednesday or Thursday. I often go with the day that has the most afternoon games, but check my YouTube channel for more details. Otherwise, I'll see you again tomorrow with a pre-recorded video with my top picks for Friday, July 21. All right, thanks everyone. This is Professor MJ, a 15-year university statistics teacher who is now retired and doing sports betting full time, and I love it. All right, thanks everyone. I'll see you soon.